Welcome to Science Wars, chemistry, bio, physics, medical, which field is best? I understand the force and energy, quantum mechanics and relativity. My field is pure and they rely on...
Hello. In this video, we're going to look at the California salamander data and see if we can see some similarities in it. We plotted all this data last week, and so now you will download the student response document, and I want you to have that response document open as you're viewing this video. Right, and you can probably do a split screen, which would be something like this through it, and you'll be able to answer them in that way. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So this is the California Salamander Information Conclusion Questions, and please have your conclusion question document open so that you can answer the questions as we go through. Here we go. Okay, so first off, this is the graph that you made, or something that looks like this, and this is the picture that hopefully you're going to be uploading to me, only yours will be in a better color scheme than this. All right, so we have now what we need to do is describe the distribution of the species. What patterns do you see in the distribution of colors of the salamanders? So let's bring in the salamanders and show you what they look like. So we have this red salamander that's down here in the Southern California, right? And that's it's the red one. And then we have the pink one here, and he's a darker color. So this is red. This is more of a blackish color. And then over here in the Bay Area, we have the orangish one, which is sort of it's a reddish one, but it has a little bit of black spots in it. And then here we have the one in the eastern part of California, that's here in Nevada, and it's got more dark with red dots in it, but it's definitely blacker. And then we have on the coast, again, another reddish one, but it's a little bit darker, a little bit more black than this one, and definitely more than this one down here. And finally, we have the Epicta, which is way up here in the corner, and it has more black dots and then some red. All right, so what you're going to do is describe the distribution of these species. What patterns do you see in the distribution of the colors of the salamanders? So what patterns do you see in the distribution of the colors, the blacks and the reds? That's what we're looking for that first one. You can stop the video if you want. I'm going to keep moving on. Okay, so question number 2, genetics data. To learn more about the Estina salamanders, you do some research. You find a scientific paper from another lab that has studied the genetics of the salamanders. They found that E. picta is the most closely related to the common ancestor of the other salamander varieties. Oof, so what does that mean? Okay, so they found that E. picta is the most closely related to the common ancestor of the other salamander varieties. So what that means is there was another salamander, all right, and it is the common ancestor of all of the salamanders in California. And they found that E. picta is the most closely related to this salamander. So based on this, make a claim. Do you believe the E. picta evolved earlier or later than the others? So if this is the common ancestor and this is the most closely related, did this evolve? Did he come about earlier or later than all these other salamanders? So make a claim on that. You can stop the video if you need to. Question 2B. Support your claim with physical evidence. Are its physical traits consistent with this? So are the physical traits of this consistent with that it is the most, that it evolved earlier or later than the others? Is that physical evidence seen in the traits of these other salamanders? Question 2C. Based on the distribution patterns of the salamanders, what can you conclude about how the salamanders migrated through California? So, did the salamanders start in the south and migrate up? Did they start in the east and migrate in this way? Did they start in the west and migrate in this way? or did they start in the north and then they migrated down? So based on the physical traits that you can see, right, which way do you think these migrated? Okay, so stop the tape if you need to, and if you don't understand this, please give me a call. All right, we're moving on to the next question, climate data. So now that you know where the salamanders live, you do some research about the climate of California, and you find a map of the average yearly rainfall in California. And here's what that map looks like. Okay, so the question is, summarize the rainfall patterns in California. Well, what does that mean? It means, where does it rain the most? Okay, so here's our data right here. You can see that the most rain is over 100, and that tends to be the bluish color. So the most rain tends to be bluish, medium rain is greenish, and less rain is yellow, and then red is the least. Okay, so summarize, where does it rain the most? All right, so look at the blues and the greens, where is it raining the most? And you describe that, and then where does it rain the least? So notice it seems to be raining the least in these areas here. All right. Next, okay, question 3B. How does the climate data relate to the distribution of the salamanders? So we have where are the salamanders located and where are they not located? So notice that they don't seem to be located in this area right here, all right, which has that much rainfall. They don't seem to be there. They don't seem to be here either, right? So they don't seem to be in this area right here very much either, right? But they are in areas that are like this, all right? They do seem to be in areas like that. Okay, going up and then coming down, right? So go ahead and describe how the climate distribution of the salamanders. 3C, what effect is this likely to have on the salamander population? So what effect would this have on the population? Is the salamanders going to be able to spread everywhere into California? Are there going to be barriers between them possibly? Are they only going to be able to spread in certain areas or certain ways? So it's kind of interesting that here, and then it kind of goes like this, where it's just barely wet enough for them to survive, which is kind of interesting, right? All right, ecological data. You do some research about the ecology of these areas. There are two facts that you find especially interesting. First, you found a picture of the habitat of Eastern California, and this is the video that's showing that. What does this add to your understanding of the evolution of the salamanders living in that area? So, Eastern California, well, if we think about our coordinate plane, never, ever smoke weed. Okay, so north, east, south, west. So this must be Eastern California over here. So, what does this add to your data? All right, well, here's what the picture looks like. So the environment of the east is looking like this. All right, so what does this add to your understanding of the evolution of the salamanders living in this area? So if this is the environment and this is the salamanders that are existing in this area, how does that help our understanding of why these salamanders are living here, right, in this environment? So go ahead and answer that. And you can stop the tape. Moving on. Okay, what subspecies has most successfully adapted to the environment of the Eastern California? So these are the subspecies right here that have adapted to Eastern California. And you might need to go back to your original, one of the original documents so that you can see this a little bit better. Now this one's an unidentified population. You can call it pink. And this is E. plasticeus, which is green. So you can identify those. Right, moving on. So how do you come to this conclusion? Again, you're coming to this conclusion based on the physical traits and the environment that they are living in. And if you can see, they do get a fair amount of rainfall in this area. Okay, second fact, There's another species of salamander that lives along the California coast. It is called Tarsicia torosa, or the California red salamander. And it turns out that this species of salamander is highly poisonous. If eaten, animals that eat salamanders have learned to avoid it. They'll get sick when they eat this salamander. Now, this is not the same thing as this. This is a totally different salamander. All right, so the question is, what does this add to your understanding of the evolution of salamanders living in this area? So if these two salamanders are living side by side, so this is on the coast all the way down, how does that help us understand what happened if this salamander was here and now these are more red-like? Okay, why would that be? All right. So the distribution of salamanders is slightly different from the east to the west. Okay, so question 4D, which is our last question. Which subspecies has most successfully adapted to the coastal environment? How did you come to that conclusion? So which species best adapted to the coastal environment? And again, you're just looking at the direct evidence. Okay, what are these species? They seem to have adapted better than these because we're finding them on the coast. It's just the direct evidence. Now, why do they adapt better? We have to look at their physical traits, all right? And their physical traits are based on the environment. Something was in the environment that was helping select for these traits. All right, well, that should conclude this lab activity. If you have any questions, please make sure that you call Mr. Lindeman and talk to him. Have a nice day.